Okay,
Okay,
do I get to say that my hair's growing back?
it is. Oh my God. Can you remember how lovely, long
Got
locks,
another couple
luscious
years of
were?
growing, and it should be back to normal.
Yeah. See, now mine should have been like 2 times that length had I not keep cutting my hair.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Like
But
just an inch over here, and just a trim it, and it
I'm just
gone.
gonna, yeah, poof, the whole thing. But anyway, but I did want to mention a few things tonight before we start the show. First, I want to say thank you to everyone that is saying prayers for my dad. And what's going on with him is he was falling. He fell a couple times. We took him in, or they took him in because I'm in Pennsylvania. He's up in Massachusetts. So they took him in the second fall, and they did a CAT scan where they found 5 lesions on his brain. Then he's been in the hospital for like a week now. They finally got the biopsies, and they initially thought that the cancer was going to be something easily treated. However, not the case when we got our results back for what they are. What they saw. We haven't gotten pathology, real things, but they said no, it's a high grade tumors, which means it's aggressive and harder to treat, and it will definitely be chemo, radiation, blah blah blah. But we don't know exactly how much yet. So continue to pray for my dad. I appreciate everybody that is doing that, and I also want to talk about Penhurst Paracon because
Yes.
it is coming up. Okay. We have, all right, it is the 19th, 20th, and 21st. Now, the 19th is Friday night, is only a VIP, supernatural VIP ghost hunt with celebrities. Okay. Saturday is vending all day. Sunday is vending. There's a ghost hunt Saturday night and the mixers and everything else for the VIPs and the supernatural VIPs where you're meeting all the celebrities. We do have Jack Osborne coming this year, which is like a coup for us. That's pretty amazing. And we also have some more as the older people that were on Ghost Hunters, Rachel Bryan. We have Bridget Marquardt. She was a Playboy bunny. She's going to be doing some of the hosting up on the stage, doing some announcing and stuff. But if you go to, and let me find this banner, all right, penhurstasylum.com. Okay, you can get passes, day passes to go into the event. Our vendors, I'm pretty sure the vendors are sold out now. The Supernatural VIPs, if they're not sold out, they will be, but I think they are. There's you'd have to check the site to see what's available still. So regular VIP pass, supernatural VIP pass, regular weekend passes. But we have tours of Penhurst. We have sick acts going on. We have lectures. We have there's psychics. There's you name it, it's going to be happening at Penhurst. Okay, it is the biggest one we've done so far, and we've had pretty big events thus far. So if you're not at Penhurst in the middle there at the end of May, few weeks, only a few weeks away, then I don't know what to say. We can't bring any more than we
Yes.
do.
Snooze to lose.
That's true. Okay, but tonight. Now, if you guys watched my video the other day and the ghost in her, all right, I read this in a day. Why? I was going to split it in two. It's 300 and something pages. I was going to split
Good,
it in
good.
two pages. I couldn't stop reading this book. I'm
And
like,
she hasn't
I
shut up about it. I have not read it yet. And I'm like, shut up.
have.
She
I,
didn't tell me the end, but I guessed it because she's like, Allah, Allah. I said, okay.
it's really good. I can envision it as a movie. But let me play our guest bio video and get her on screen with us. This week in the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, we welcome Anika Savoy. She is an award-winning author and an attorney who has always felt a supernatural pull. She is a healthy skeptic, but she cannot deny her near-death experience and the shift it made in her life and in her writing. She attended McGill University and graduated with distinction in 1988 with a BA in English Literature. While at McGill, she won several creative writing contests. Thereafter, she wrote historical romance novels. In 1998, Annika changed course and pursued her lifelong dream of becoming an attorney. She graduated from University of Cincinnati College of Law with Dean's Honors in 2001 and practiced law for almost 20 years. Now, Annika returns to her first love, writing historical romance. She endeavors to add paranormal elements that take readers into a fairy tale universe where ghosts and witches exist and happy endings abound. The Ghost in Her, our featured book, is the first in Anika Savoy's Ungilded series. To learn more about Annika, go to www.anikasavoyauthor.com. And we welcome you and everyone to the Fox Den. Hi, Annika.
Hi, how are
Okay.
you?
Annika, tell me something. Did you model for your own cover? I mean, seriously, people,
In my dreams.
that still counts.
Yeah, they
Thank
do.
you.
Yes.
Maggie in the book is 19 years old. And I am, well, I'm
Just a
older
little
than
bit.
that.
You're 20. You're 21. We'll just stick there.
Yeah, let's stick
Yeah,
there. But
I'll stick there.
actually, I do have a nonfiction that I wrote about the serial killer, and I am on the cover of that. My husband took the photo for the cover of his garden.
Ooh,
No,
Yeah.
I have a couple of your books right here.
Yeah, that's
Um,
me.
Yep.
That's me.
So Escape from Maripol and His
Yep.
Garden.
Yeah.
Both of these books won awards.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Well,
very prominent writer we have in the room.
Yes, Independent
So-
Press Awards.
So
Independent
that
Press.
means we're going to have you back for the other books.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I really would.
I have a couple books she sent to me, so I'm going to read those. I can't wait to
Absolutely.
read those.
Absolutely.
But speaking of, that is so funny because the way that the story goes on this book, which was amazing. Did I mention that already?
No, I don't think you did.
Reading this and how good this was, and it should be a movie. All right. So in case I didn't mention it, there should be a movie. All right. But anyway, the storyline in this, how we talk about divine readiness and things, it's like a preview. What that book that you wrote in here, right? The Escape.
Yep.
Maripol, a survivor.
Escape.
True story, right? It kind of mirrors the same type of thing that happened in this book. I mean,
it's almost mystical. It really is, because I wrote The Ghost in Her during the pandemic, and you read it, of course, Gina. Part 1 is called The Girl in the Hole. Okay.
Right.
And Maggie, the poor Irish seamstress at turn of the century New York City, she literally lives in a hole. She lives like in a crawl space beneath a tenement building because she's so poor. And it's this squalid, cold, damp hole. And in Escape from Mariupol, which is a true story about a Ukrainian refugee who lived 5 weeks underground alongside over 200 civilians in Mariupol during the first 5 weeks of Russia's invasion. So, I mean, it was horrific. In her case, the high rise above them was constantly shaking with the bombs, and neighboring buildings were being bombed, and people were coming into the basement and injured. I mean, she would literally slept beside corpses. So her story, which is a real story, is much darker than Maggie's, but I do find it interesting that both about girls in the hole. And then the second part of The Ghost in Her is titled The Girl in the Madhouse. And that's sort of like in the Escape from Mariupol, this Ukrainian refugee trying to get out of Russian occupied territory. It's like escaping a lunatic asylum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And then
this is the madhouse too you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. The New York City Asylum for the Insane. That's the women's one. Blackwell's Island. So that is an insane place. And speaking of, that's where we have Penhurst Asylum. A lot of asylums are abandoned, and craziest.
Yes, I'm fascinated by them.
Things.
Absolutely. It's almost like when you visit a Holocaust concentration camp, you can feel that energy in the
Yeah.
walls and on the ground. And when you go to places like that and imagine all of the horrors that took place over hundreds of years, are they absorbed in the stone? Is the grief and
A
the
lot of them use limestones and things like that. They take and absorb all that energy.
yeah, and maybe we can link into that somehow, sense it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Penhurst. I tell a lot of people that are coming to our event, because there's going to be like 5,000 people there.
Wow.
If you're an empath, ground and shield before you go there, because even just driving up to the place, you can feel the energy.
Right.
Of all of the people.
But what's kind of ironic, Gina, is that my husband and I went to Blackwell's Island to visit while I was writing the book, because we live in Northwest Connecticut, so we're just a couple hours a train ride, which is wonderful, to New York City. So when I was doing all this different research, I was doing it in New York City, going to all the Bowery places and investigating. So we took the ferry to it's called Roosevelt Island. It's in tribute to FDR. And so we took the ferry, but you can take the tram, the kind of gondola that goes across the East River if you don't want to take the ferry. And whether you do the ferry or the tram, you just need a New York City public transit stub, couple bucks.
So did they let you tour the building?
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't exist. The only thing that exists.
I thought that this building was still there.
The one in the right hand top corner. That's the only part that remained. It's called the Octagon.
Yeah.
And interestingly now, because Blackwell's Island at the turn of the century, when the book takes place, it had almshouses, prisons, a smallpox hospital. There is an abandoned remain structure of the smallpox hospital. Was kind of creepy to look at, but otherwise everything except that Octagon building have been wiped out, and it's a very kind of nice, serene island, very low key considering it's right off the river across from Manhattan. But attached to that Octagon now are condominiums. So condominiums are.
Oh my God, I would not want to live there. I don't know what I wouldn't be able to. I know I wouldn't be able to.
I'll bet you a lot of people don't even know about the history.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the what was it that still remained? Actually, pretty much nothing. That you see all the meadows and the pastoral landscape, and there's a technology college there. And I try to get that across in the book, that for someone in 1888 who got shipped out of the Bowery, the squalid, loud, crowded Bowery, and shipped off to Blackwell's Island, in some ways it would have been a very surreal experience, because it's almost bucolic, and it's like rolling meadows, trees, and then spots of and a prison, and then more trees and fields and another prison.
Right. And for the women too, it was tougher on the women. And then like you had a couple of scenes that were pretty, the bath and everything when she was and things like that. That it just brings you. It makes you like kind of, while you're reading, stop and think what these poor women went through.
Right. And that bath scene was kind of inspired by I read 10 Days in a Madhouse by Nellie Bly, and she was a reporter back in, I think it was 1874, that she went kind of in costume, pretended to be insane, and got herself admitted to the asylum. Are you familiar with that story?
I am.
Yeah. So she describes the cold bath.
Things like that. They kept locking her shoes real tight and wouldn't do them. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Stuff like that. Like I said, these books are right up my alley. This is the kind of movie I like to watch. It's the kind of story I like to read. I just like it,
Well, you know what? I've decided to try to write a screenplay based on the Escape from Mariupol book.
Oh, I can't wait
Because I think it would be a fabulous feature film. So I'm going to do a screenplay workshop at New York Film Academy this summer to convert that book into a screenplay. But I was thinking, maybe if I get good at the screenplay thing, I could do a screenplay for The Ghost in Her.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be cool?
I'm gonna put up the picture that I said when I was reading the book on how I envisioned the characters. Now she doesn't envision them the same way, but I envisioned the Gershom, as young,
Maggie
in the middle there, and it's like anytime I see an Irish girl or a spirited Irish girl, I think of her. Okay. And then as Leo, as the dad, I just thought Judd Hirsch, and it's just like, so as I'm reading, I just have these guys, totally in my head as I'm going. But now you thought of Billy Crystal and who was
I thought about Adrian Brody for Gershom.
Yeah.
And then
that would work.
Did you remember that film? There was a film called Brooklyn about an Irish woman that comes to there was a female actress in that I'd love to play Maggie. Yeah. No. Probably a genuinely Irish.
More petite than the one that I picked. But I just love her because of her spunk and just, she's very forward.
Yeah.
And a go-getter, and trying desperately, to get out there. And that's how I see her, as an actor.
Yeah. That's great. I remember reading in Michael Caine's biography about different young actors and actresses that he would work with, and how some were, you just knew they had it. And it's kind of that je ne sais quoi thing, where they just have that certain thing that makes them beautiful on screen.
Yep. But I can absolutely see it as a movie. But now I want to back up completely and flip it here, because on your bio, on your video that I made for you, and it said your near-death experience.
Yeah.
That caused that shift. I want to talk about that. So what happened and what shift did that do in your life? And
I think it was, I was always spiritual. I mean, from the time, I could stand up, I always had that spiritual sense. But when I was almost 18, the summer I was 17 before I went to college, I was hit by a car when I was riding my bike to work. And it was a very serious accident where I was speeding down a hill to try to get through the yellow light before it turned red. And no success. Steep hill. And I flipped up in the air and flipped back onto the hood and flipped up again and flipped back onto the pavement. Yeah. I mean, I was bedridden for several months, and I fractured my vertebrae and was really like swollen and bruised from here down. It took years for the pain to go away. And I can still point the exact place in my neck or my back.
Yep. But we were talking the other day about
that whole neck thing for me is a totally different issue than what happened then, because I was young, I was athletic, I was, you heal so quickly when you're young. But the damage is still there. I can still point exactly where it is, and on rainy days I feel it. But when I made impact, I felt my soul leave my body.
Wow.
And the most notable thing about that experience was that there was no time. And it's something I can't put into words because it's a non-human kind of concept of what is no time. It wasn't like, oh, this lasts eternity, because that involves time. There was no time. And it was just kind of like a static buzzing all around me and a white light. And I felt total peace. And I felt, because keep in mind at the time, I was a 17-year-old, pretty young girl, with boyfriends and sports. I no longer identified with that, shall we say, drama, that story.
That's a good word. Yeah.
That story. I had no identity other than this very deep spiritual, I don't know the word for it, just a steadiness, a calmness. And it felt, if anything, it felt a little more masculine than feminine. And so when I came to, I was on the ground and the ambulance was there. But I definitely feel, I don't know if it was so much near death as just my body my spirit temporarily escaped my body because of the
Pain,
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, because people have had so many, oh my God, everyone that I've talked to about a near-death experience has all been so different.
Oh,
So,
really?
so different. Yeah. And what they
Have you ever talked to anyone who had a negative one?
no,
Mm,
no.
good.
And I had one too, but I stopped myself before I actually got like to go over. But it helps me in the paranormal now. Everything changed for me after that, and but it was
Mhm.
it was like that. Yeah, that first it was very quiet. It was very like, what is? I just was like, what's going on? What's going on? Why am I here? I was in my hallway at my mother's house. I'm like, why am I here? I'm floating down the hallway, and every time I would get closer and closer to death, basically, I was going down the hallway further and further, and I'm looking, and I see my mom's bedroom door. I gotta, get her attention. I'm thinking she's on the other side of the door. I need to wake her up. She's got to help me. You know what I mean? And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, things from my bedroom as a child were floating by me, but I couldn't grab them. It was so frustrating.
Wow.
Everything about it was very frustrating. I
Oh,
couldn't
really?
talk. I couldn't talk. I was trying to talk, and no words were coming out. And get frustrated, and then I'd move forward again. But it really, all the beginning part of it was just like, what the heck is going on? Now my feet are not touching the ground. I'm just floating, and then I float, and then I move forward. And then I finally got to the point where I could actually grab some of these items, and then I would throw it at my mom's door, but it would disappear when I would hit the door. I'm like, oh, come on.
So tell me, okay,
It was,
before you had this, were you ill, or were you
it
close
was,
to death, or was it like a dreamlike state you were in?
I was ODing.
Ah.
I had broken my collarbone.
Mhm.
And before that happened, I was drunk. So
Yeah.
I was inebriated. My
Mhm.
my first husband and I got into a fight. It was an accident. Didn't do it on purpose, but he did break my collarbone. It's like I walked into it. It was like clothesline.
Mhm.
But it's like
Mhm.
he was facing the other way, and he just turned around to talk to me as I was walking in, and he clotheslined me. And I'm
Oh,
still arguing on the ground, mind you, right? But I knew
wow.
I couldn't get up.
It figures.
Just knew it. But then I go to the hospital. They give me a shot of Demerol. Everything feels great. I'm like jumping all over. They're like, "Oh, easy, easy."
Yeah.
Mm. But then they send me home with all kinds of pain pills,
Ah,
and I
yeah.
took more pain pills. And then the first thing I want to do is I want to take a shower, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in the shower, and you can't do anything
Right.
for a broken collarbone. The water turns cold. I start shivering. It starts killing me again. I'm just like, I want to die, right? But I said it, didn't mean that. You know what I mean? But I was just like, oh my God, but I took more pills, and I said, just no one touch me. I'm like, take the kids, put them upstairs.
Oh,
The kids are little, I'm like, put them upstairs, keep them away from me. I just had a towel on. I went onto my couch, and then
yeah.
I was ODing,
So it was an accidental overdose,
Yeah, accidental. So,
but
but I brought myself back. But this is the funny thing. Now I get almost to that door, right? And I
Mhm.
realize why I'm there. I'm dying now, right? Now I know it. So I'm like, I don't want to die. And I'm saying it to myself. I'm saying it in my head. I don't want to die. I'm trying to say it's not coming out. And then I moved forward again. I'm like, I don't want to die. I'm panicking now. And then I screamed it, I don't want to die. And then I slammed back into my body on the couch. So
Wow.
boom, and it moved that. So it actually physically moved me. I was covered with sweat. It was insane, right?
That is.
I threw the pills away.
That's insane to me, because I've known people who have OD'd, some kind of accidental / suicidal, like, when you're in that space, you just
Yeah.
want to numb the pain. So, it could have been suicide, but nonetheless, I've known several different people like that, and I've often wondered, what did they experience in those final moments of ODing?
Like I said, everybody's story is so
Yeah,
different. But
yeah.
when I came back, I'm hearing all these tones, and it's not like it's like a tinnitus type of a tone, but it's not all the time.
Mhm,
And it took me
mhm,
a long time to figure out what the hell that was. And it's a
mhm.
spirit coming near me. So it's a low tone, a medium tone, a high tone. When it's a low tone, I get a little nervous. And it's a medium and a high tone, they're good spirits. They're angelic realms or whatever. It's fine. But then, when you are working in the field, I think your skills just develop anyway.
Right,
But now,
right.
sometimes I see them, sometimes I hear them, sometimes, I don't consider myself a psychic, but I get, I'm claircognizant,
Yeah,
just know things.
yeah.
How to,
I think it's amazing how you can have something terrifying like that happen to you, but it alters the entire trajectory of your life, and
yeah,
it's like prompts your growth. Like,
yes,
Yeah.
even for me, I feel so grateful that I had that near death experience when I was only 17 years old, because it shook me up in a way that just changed everything for me, my entire set of priorities in terms of seeking beyond this earth,
hmm
and it just altered the paradigm completely, and therefore in many ways alienated me a lot more from the systems that I was involved in, from family systems and whatnot. So it was good and necessary. I think it was a gift, but it wasn't necessarily fun, you
I
know.
I know. It's weird. It's weird.
Hmm.
And again, everybody's journey is so different. So
Yeah.
now you went from that happening.
Hmm.
Were you always a writer? Like, did you always
Yeah.
like a storyteller and a writer, and you're that
Very
person?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's I was the last of five children in a very competitive oriented, ego minded
yeah.
Irish Catholic family.
Yay.
And yeah, and I felt very lonely growing up, very
Yeah.
lonely, very misunderstood, very misunderstood. And writing for me was my lifeline. Since I was a little girl, I would keep diaries and journals. Do you know I still have them to this day in a big Tupperware? Like
I
all my
burnt
diaries
one.
and
I
journals.
wish I didn't.
Yeah.
Hi, Bob. It's my baby right there.
I still can't go back to them and read them. I don't know why.
Oh,
It,
I'd find
it's
out what
not.
a jerk I was.
I know. I was horrible. I was a
I know.
horrible child in a horrible young 20s and stuff.
I think
Yeah.
it's when we write journals. I've never been a journal writer, but
Mhm.
this is my way of thinking. When people write journals and they can't go back to read them, I think it's not for us to read our own journals. I think it's for
Yes.
somebody else. Like
Yeah.
maybe eventually when the time comes and you're no longer
Yeah.
with us, that somebody wants to write your story, that those journals will come into handy. And
Yeah.
they'll think, and the thing is, who you thought you were back in the day
Mhm.
is not who everybody else thinks that you were.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were like a bit of a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Probably
Oh, everyone
everybody probably thought, well, we
anything.
know Gina was, but
Yeah.
we won't go there. But most
Yeah.
of the people who know you probably thought, nope, she's not as bad as she thought
Oh.
she was.
Yeah, maybe, who knows? And ultimately, that's where you have to put your ego aside and say, okay, if someday my great granddaughter gets hold of this and wants to make it into a short film and submit it to Sundance, exposing all of my flaws
Yeah.
and all of my hypocrisies and all my contradictions, I'm good with that.
That's
I'll
good.
No
be
That's
problem.
good.
dead.
That's
I'll
good.
be
Well,
dead.
all the things that have happened to us, that we've gone through,
Yeah.
that we've survived,
Yeah.
Mhm.
shaped us into who we are.
Yeah.
And your life has done the roller coaster thing. My life's done the
Mhm.
roller coaster thing.
Mhm.
Mama's done, everybody
Mhm.
has.
Yeah.
Right.
We've done the 180s, you did that.
Yeah.
So you started out writing, you became a lawyer
Yep.
and went back to writing.
Yep. Yep. There you go.
Where's your
And being a lawyer involves a ton of writing as well.
yeah, yeah,
Just
a lot of reading.
legal writing that was helpful to my nonfiction writing to be very fact based and
Yes.
evidentiary based. But just anytime you can write, no matter what genre or boring legal writing, you're working on a craft, you're working on a skill. I think nowadays, because it's so easy for anyone to self-publish, a lot of people, if you want to try your hand writing a book and self-publishing it, great. But the reality is, it really is a craft. It's like the difference between someone who picks up a violin and starts doing a few, lessons, and, there's different levels of that craft. And so, it's just something that, I'm always surprised when people say they never thought of being a writer until they were like 50 and wrote these books, or what. It's surprising to me. I guess it happens.
Yeah, I'm 60 and I'm going to be writing my first book finally.
Oh,
I have a thing,
what do I know?
thing going, you know what I mean? But I just never had time.
There you go.
So
yeah.
But,
Virginia Woolf.
We're writing a book together. We're just going to do like an oracle type book, and that's in the works too. We're still writing, so it's just, but it's time. It is time.
It takes a lot of time, and then the editors I've had for all of my books have been top of the line. So hopefully you guys can get a good editor, because it's amazing, no matter how good you think you are at it, or knowing the grammar, it's amazing the mistakes that they'll catch, a good editor.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's like, I know I'm not a writer.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a writer. Like I always say, that's why I do a radio show or a video show, because when I write things, it doesn't come out the way I'm thinking it. I can do it. I can have a conversation with people and I'm good with that. Yes. But to do a writing, it's like, I don't do blogs. I don't even write a journal. I never have. I know I encourage all my people to write journals, but I'm just not. And to record all of these things, I usually end up thinking about the important things when I'm doing dishes. That's my meditation zone.
Sure.
And it's like, I'm sorry, my hands are wet. I'm not going to pick up my phone and start,
I really would. I changed my one sentence. I know that I would finally put down on paper. By the time I reread it and go back, it would be that sentence turns into a paragraph. That paragraph turns into a whole chapter just by itself with one thought. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, it would change all the time. So and
we'd have to let her write it and then take it away from her.
Yeah. Yeah, and then give it to the editor and let the editor do the final things. Because if I change it, I should add another character.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of channel when you're writing, Gina.
Maybe.
Yeah,
it's about
But I mean, it's like when she does the videos, the intro videos. Like people go, oh my God, it's so amazing. But it's like short and sweet, like 2-3 minutes of a video. But it can take her up to a week to do these things.
I was amazed by the video she did for me. I loved it.
Audio, so much the sound, the music. Because usually I put the music on. I use Anchor FM, right? Anchor venue to make them, and they have their own music. But I'm always using the same music, because that's all the music they have on there. So I'm like, I want something different, so I put music on in the background, so that's like, get that little crunchy sound in the front, little crunchy sound in the back. It doesn't like go up and down like do on the venue. So I was kind of disappointed with that, but I liked the music that I
did too. Just the fact that you can do all that, I'm in awe of that, because I just can't do that kind of stuff. I don't have that skill.
I'm an artist, you know what I mean? So I like creating, and then I like graphic artists. I like all kinds of art, all types of art,
Right.
In your competitive family, well, we had a competitive family. We were artsy, like whatever, my brother did something. My two sisters, they both did art, but different things. My one sister's like cartoon, and the other one's like landscape. My brother did vehicles, cars, motorcycles, whatever, whatever's cool in the day, Me, I did everything. Right. And I mean, when I say everything, I do everything. I do everything creatively, everything. Like, I was a designer.
You're a jack of all trades. You're a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
A Jill of all trades.
A Jill of all trades. And a tool belt diva, So it, build things and all that kind of stuff too. So it's like, my dad, he always said, someone else can do it, so can you. And then that's the way we were all raised,
Yeah.
Do it for yourself. So that's what we did, So like, I could have a million topics. That's the problem. You know, it's like the million things. I always say my brain is like a filing cabinet with all the damn drawers are open.
Oh, wow.
So there's
That's
something going on
amazing.
at all times. You know?
As long as you don't get monkey brain, where it's like too much, right?
She could tell you sometimes. 100%.
Does she get look, you're like, honey, go to
Oh,
the
yeah.
green room. Let's chat.
Yeah. And the thing is, when she gets, Gina is, she'll get angry. Perfectionist, yeah. She'll get angry with herself, right? And she used to send me a voice message on Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah, like a 5-minute tirade. And I'll get up in the morning and I'll hear this, and then I'll go, feel better? And she'd be like, yeah.
oh, well, I'm
Because
glad
if she doesn't get it out, yeah.
I'm glad she can do that with you. I mean,
Oh,
not
yeah.
a lot of people have someone in their life that they can do that with. I know, like, we do that in our marriage. Yeah, it's really important to just be able to cut loose and say how you really feel, get it off your chest.
Yeah, you have to have somebody. And the thing is, it's not always easy to, like, if you have it in your marriage, that's great, but sometimes it's not always easy to get to vent that frustration, whatever it is, with your partner, because then sometimes the partner might take it, personally. I don't take nothing personally. If y'all don't like me, it's fine. It's your issue, not mine.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. I'm a listener.
Right.
I let people vent and spew, and that's my thing.
That's great. That's great.
We work well. But now, would there be another book for this?
Yeah, I was just talking to someone about that I've been promoting both books, The Ghost in Her and the Ukrainian Story, so much in the last few months. And now I need to get back to work on the sequel to The Ghost in Her. But here's the problem.
I'll be your test reader.
Yes. Oh, I would love that. I would actually love that. But here's the problem. I already wrote like 6 or 7 chapters last winter when I finished The Ghost in Her. And then the project with the Ukrainian woman came into my life. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to write this book as quickly as possible for her.
So you can get back to the other one?
No, it was because the issue was so timely. The issue was so timely with the war in Ukraine. So I dropped the sequel to The Ghost in Her and focused on this Ukrainian book and got it done within like 6 months.
Wow.
And then I went into all the marketing of both books. So it's like I finally now have time to return to the sequel, and I can't wait because, in fact, I like it more than The Ghost in Her. I like this story even more.
Well, because every book is a step up.
I'd like to think that, and it seems to have a much sharper focus and energy, this book. But here's the problem: is the Ukrainian book I wrote. I think it would be a perfect feature film, and so I talked to couple different film producers this week, and they were interested in the story, but they want a script. So I thought, okay, am I going to hire a script writer? No, I'm a writer. I'm going to learn how to do it. So I think I'm going to go to the New York Film Academy this summer to take an 8-week, it's online, 8-week workshop on screenplay writing. And they let you, choose your project. The goal at the end of the 8 weeks is to write a feature film. So that will be my opportunity to learn how to do it. Yeah. And then I thought, well, if I then learn how to do that, then maybe I could do that with The Ghost in Her at a future date, write a screenplay and start pitching it to the Hallmark Channel, Hulu, Paramount.
There you go. Netflix.
Sequel. Because they're going to have a sequel. They're going to want to know what happens next.
Yeah, and then I'll, this next book, I think I could easily write the sequel in a matter of maybe 3 or 4 months. I'm generally a really fast writer.
You're talking about channeling, and the spirits and the things that you're adding in here too is really awesome.
Thank you, but I can't take total credit for that because they came into my mind fully formed.
See, you're being channeled. They want this, these real characters coming through to you and saying, hey, How about this in the
Yeah.
story? They're
Yeah.
interested in the story that you're writing, and maybe it was
Yeah.
the same time frame. Maybe, you know what I mean? So who
I
knows?
don't know.
Who knows
I
why?
don't know. All I know is write what you love. So
Exactly.
if you love that time period, if you love paranormal ghost stories, lunatic asylums, I had this guy, this crew came to my house. They were sanding down our kitchen cupboards, and he said, "Oh, you're a writer. What do you write?" And he said, "My wife loves to read." I said, "What does she like to read?" He says, "Yeah, you're gonna think it's crazy." I said, "No, tell me." She's really into the turn of the century ghost stories, but involving madhouses. I'm like,
It's
What?
perfect timing.
Ta-da!
but then I'm like, okay, that's the kind of story I wanted to see on TV and read about. So that's why I wrote it. And then here's this other woman, she has the exact same interest. And then you realize, oh, you mean there's a whole brand out there. There's a
Hmm.
whole like Star Trek convention of women who are into turn of the century, paranormal, ghost
Yep.
Yep.
story, madhouse.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
It's just,
I'm
yeah.
there, you know?
And it's the
Um,
thing is, everybody thinks, oh, nobody would be interested in this, and you'd be amazed how many people are
Yeah.
interested in what you do.
and then I like,
Whether it's
I
the
love
books that you're writing.
I love
Right.
the ghost stories too that you need to, the ghosts need help,
Yeah.
find something, or they're in search of something, and either they're recruiting kids or a person to help them, and then you have a conclusion at the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love a story like that. Because like even Bob, my Bob, he comes in. I'm watching horror movies and this and that all the time,
Me
but
too.
it's that's my genre. He's like, oh, you're watching a love story. Yes, I am. It's like, but I don't like the slasher. I don't like Freddy or Jason or those types of
Yeah.
looking for a ghost,
Yeah.
story. And I like the ghost love
Something
story. So,
otherworldly that,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's so hard to find a good one, that's
Yeah.
not super cheesy or just so poorly acted.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that could have been really good had
I
they knew
know.
actors.
Yeah.
you know,
One thing that was really interesting when I was writing The Ghost in Her is in the early stages of writing it, I've told you I struggle with a lot of pain in my neck. So sometimes I have a little cannabis at night. And I had some cannabis and I thought, oh my goodness, the nut cracked. I thought, Maggie is deluded. And when her sister died and gave birth to a baby, it was actually like a split personality psychotic episode for Maggie. And it was actually her that gave birth to the baby
yep,
Hmm.
and created an entirely fictional
yep.
delusion called
And I
Nessa.
thought about that right before I read it in the
So,
book. It just
well,
like popped
yeah,
into my head, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it was in writing. I was like, oh,
right. That's
love
why, I was starting to write it in that direction,
it.
and
And
then
I give up
actually,
the story.
I had an editor look at the early chapters, and she said, "This is too complicated." She's like, "This is too far out," and I said, "Well, why don't I then have Maggie's neighbors, gaslight her and make her think that she made up Nessa,
Mm-hmm.
and make her think that she's insane and make others think she's insane." So then it read with a much more consistent flow.
Right.
But that's why it's really important to see alternative endings on movies sometimes,
Yeah.
because I could have, with just a few tweaks, I could have changed the whole story in a
I
different
know.
direction.
Yep, I know, because then she could have really been in the madhouse for real, and you could take that whole madhouse thing, to her treatment, to different things that she's
Yeah.
gone through. It could be cold treatments or shock treatments or whatever
Yeah.
all those things to fix her
But
brain.
yeah, and Gina, you know what
But
that would mean? That would mean that I would have to totally change the genre, because that would be woman's fiction, kind of dark cinema, woman's fiction,
right. And this was
Margaret Atwood
this
type
was
stuff,
good.
but it wouldn't be a paranormal historical romance,
Exactly.
Right?
But
Yeah.
I love what you did. But that's why I couldn't
Yeah.
stop reading. I was just like, oh my God, I gotta know what's happening here. I
Yeah.
you need to know. And I love what you did. I really do.
Thank you. You know, you're not the first, and it's meant so much to me. I've had a lot of women who've read it and been really surprised. Like, wow, I've never read anything like this before. I'd like to read the reviews on Goodreads about this book, because all of them are saying this is very quirky and unlike anything I've really ever read before. But damn it, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yes, it was totally gripping. And then, Bob comes home from work, I'm still reading, because he left from, from work, I'm reading. He comes home from work, I'm still reading. And he's trying to talk. I'm like,
I'm reading.
That's awesome.
Not now.
I'll be like, Gina,
That's
did you
awesome.
think about supper? No, yeah, fix yourself a peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Nope. Is it that time? Nope.
Well, that's a good sign for me, because it's pacing is really important to me. If a novel or a movie is too slow paced, unless it's something really well written and really good, I lose interest. I need things. I'm a fast paced woman, and I need my books to move quickly.
You're a northerner like me. Everything is fast.
I'm from Boston. I mean, I'm from outside of Boston.
I'm an asshole too.
I'm an asshole.
I'm from Worcester, right by Worcester, so Oxford.
No, you're not from
Boston.
You're not from Worcester. You're from Worcester.
Worcester.
Worcester. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure you pronounced it right.
Yeah,
Worcester.
Worcester and Oxford, and I try to keep my accent out of the show as much as I possibly can. But no, it's there.
That's great.
Some people won't understand it. It'll be like,
and I'm turning all the Pennsyltuckians into massholes. Bob talks like that. It's like he says it's dark out.
Yeah, I went to college when I was 17 at the end of that summer, and was mercilessly teased in Montreal for my masshole accent. Yeah. So I very purposely, like an actress who needs to learn a different accent for a movie, I very purposely changed my accent to Canadian English.
Isn't it tough?
Yeah,
it's tough. It's really tough. And what else is hard from going from being a mass person is the pace. Like everywhere else, it's a lot slower. Here, in Pennsylvania, I was so aggravated everywhere I went. In the shopping line, right? The cashier is talking to this lady about grandkids and this and that, and I'm like,
oh my god,
ice cream melting here. Can we go?
Don't get me started. My the woman that's living with us, our Ukrainian guest, who we wrote the book together. She's on European time, man. I mean, you see the French protesting the raise of 2 years of the retirement to 64. And here we're working ourselves into the grave until we're 90 in America. Exactly. But we drive each other crazy for that reason. Is that I go into a store. I'm not into shopping. It's not a museum. It's not a museum. Take it size small.
Can we have one? Yeah. Can't we have one can of beans and one can of?
But this Ukrainian woman, she's a true artist, and she paints. She does photography. She's a tattoo artist, and she is so into beauty that I kid you not, she'll just sit on our porch and stare at a flower. Just stare at a flower for a half hour while she sips her coffee. She'll just stare at the flower.
Wow.
I mean, that's what she's like. So when we go shopping, I can't get her out of the store. And of course, she's from Ukraine. So coming to TJ Maxx is like
kid in a candy store.
Yeah. To see all the Levi's and Nike and all the brand names. And I can't get her out.
Going right to the home section.
Oh, yeah. Home section too. Yeah. I have to admit, TJ Maxx is probably the exception to that rule. But I'm talking when we go to Walmart. Come on, let's get out of here. I'm not wandering around Walmart for 3 hours.
Yeah, but they're so huge and there's so many things to them. It's I'm not a super shopper. I want to go and give me a grocery list and I'll follow it. Then there'll be another grocery list up ahead that I can do. But in general, it's okay.
I could probably save a lot of money if I go to Walmart, but I can't do it. I just can't.
You can't?
No, I go
I'll take you there.
I got to go to the regular grocery store. I hate grocery shopping. I hate spending money on groceries.
Uh-huh.
I hate grocery shopping. It's just too complicated. It's too, like I said, there's too many cans of beans. There's too many of this, that, and the other thing. You know, you can't just grab what you want. You got to read labels.
Do you know what I was saying to my husband the other day? I said, am I being weird by being nostalgic about the pandemic? And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, you know, for one thing, he didn't travel at all because he travels nonstop for his job. So it like saved our marriage. But one of the things was grocery shopping. Because my husband has a pre-existing condition. He recovered from stage 4 cancer 6 years ago. So we have to be careful with you know, COVID was serious to us. We took it very seriously. So before the vaccine, we did next to nothing. And I ordered from Instacart. And I actually would bleach all the stuff in my driveway. I was so paranoid. And my pants are all covered with bleach stains now. But
that's a fashion statement now.
New style.
Yeah, right. And it was nice to just go to Instacart, order your groceries like that, not have to go to the store.
As much as I dislike grocery shopping, I have to go in and get my stuff because I need to know that I like I said, like five different cans of beans. I'll buy the cheapest because I never just open a can, heat, and eat. I have to add things to it. So I've got seasonings. I've got, you know, whatever. So I can add things to it. But for me, I can't just, because I'm always afraid if I put it in a grocery list and you have it delivered to your house, you know, it's like, am I going to get the right potatoes? Am I going to get the fresh celery? Am I going, you know, it's like,
I have to pick my fruit. You know, I worked at the fruit stand.
And I did get some bad stuff. I got some bad tomatoes that had to return it. And that's a pain to have to get a credit and do all that. And then remember when they would say, well, we don't have Ruffles potato chips, but we have gluten-free banana chips.
No, thank you.
Do you want us to replace it?
You know what? We finally got here in Pennsylvania because I did have to finally break down and go grocery shopping. So it cost me a fortune when I finally go. But the cupboards are bare by the time I go. Right? But we have kettle corn poppers. They're like it's popcorn in a chip-like thing, the triangle things. I had them up in the house. My daughter introduced me to them, and we haven't had them down here in Pennsylvania. And they were there. I was like, so it made the whole trip worthwhile because I need popcorn now because I can't eat. I can't have anything with seeds, and I can't eat this, and I can't eat that. Blah, blah, blah. But you know, is what it is. But that's
okay. I just have to say it's been a very long time since we've had somebody on the show that the conversation was geared towards food. It had nothing to do with this topic of the show, but we ended up going to food. I'm in heaven.
Well, let me tell you, since this Ukrainian woman has been living with me, I thought I put on weight, and I went on the scale this morning. I haven't weighed myself in months, and I lost weight, and which surprised me because I've eaten better than I think I've ever eaten in my life with her living here because she eats like Ukrainians eat. How is that? She eats close to the earth. Like she eats so much fruit. She eats so many vegetables. She has wonderful ways of sauteing and adding herbs and spices. And of course, because I'm a quarter Polish, I prefer that Eastern Ukrainian dill flavor. And I've been, you know, having my avocado toast and my veggie omelets. And it's just amazing.
Wow. It's amazing the changes that you go through without realizing they're changes. It just sort of happens naturally.
Yeah. Mother's Polish and Polish and Irish, right? But Polish. And I serve Lenten meals down at the lodge with his sister, you know, so it's all the halushki and the potato pancakes and the pierogies and stuff like that, you know, and it's like, growing up, my mother, I thought potato pancakes was mashed potatoes, smashed and fried. That's what I thought a potato pancake was. So I was introduced to a whole new Polish world of food, which is very bad for you food. Fattening food.
Kielbasa.
But you make I can't eat the kielbasa, regular kielbasa, because it's like too greasy, and it's like I love it, but I physically can't eat it. My throat won't let me swallow it. Like I can take 12 bites and then it just stops. I can't.
You know what
venison kielbasi I can eat. Have you ever had venison kielbasi?
I don't know if I'd be into it because it's like anything that's like a sausage. Unless it's a turkey sausage.
Right.
Do you think anybody really cares about this? Do you think
I know. Lord. Oh, Lord. Yes, sorry. We are so off topic. I blame it on Mama. This is Mama's fault.
Mama
I'll make everybody go to her. Hey, look, at least we didn't get on chocolates, okay? I've had to give that up, so we're good.
That is true.
Well, you know what? I have a good transition when you're ready. We can transition to talking about food in my book.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we take our 5 minute, because this could be a good transition to bring in the theme Crystal of the Week segment right now. It's like 5 minutes early, but this is about a little 5 minute break. We're going to be talking about she is going to be talking about blue lace agate. That's what she thought was an appropriate stone for a show like this. So let me put her up here, and this is about 5 minutes.
Hello, loves. I am Athena Barry, Reiki Master and author of award-winning book Raise Your Vibes, and my new Oracle deck, Raise Your Vibes, Crystal Cards, and of course, creator of CrystalReikiHealer.com. And I am so grateful to be back here again for another week on the Fox Den Show with our signature Crystal of the Week segment. So let's dive in. For this week's show, I really felt called to the energy of blue lace agate. This crystal is known as the diplomat, as it assists all forms of communication, but in a gentle, calming, soothing kind of way. I always kept a piece of this close to me when during writing, right? Either with the blog, the book, the Oracle deck, you're going to find a piece of that next to my computer. It really helps with that creative flow. Blue lace agate activates our throat chakra, supporting our communication, bringing clarity, and then giving us the confidence to express ourselves, which is not always an easy thing for everybody. As some of you may know, we are also at the very beginning here of Mercury retrograde, which is excellent for communication and typos and, arguments and all kinds of wonky things with tech. So keeping a piece of this close by will really, hopefully, help you keep those typos and those miscommunications at bay. So this is a good one to hold on to, guys. Emotionally, blue lace agate is wonderful for stress relief and for soothing anxieties, especially when, that inner dialogue takes a turn for the worse. This is going to be your best friend. Number 36 in my new Oracle deck, Raise Your Vibes Crystal Cards. If you draw this card, it's really assigned to release any emotional attachment to any recent difficult communication. So that will be a good one. And there are rituals and quick vibe fixes on there to help support you in how to do that. Ways you can use this crystal. It can be worn as jewelry, right? In our crystal elixirs. So popping one in your coffee, your tea, your water bottle, whatever you're drinking that day, just keeps that communication flowing with ease and your emotional body kind of calm and in check there. It's great under your pillow, especially if you're trying to do dream work and you're trying to understand the messages that are coming through. Smaller than this, I like to tuck into my pocket or into my bra, but you can also keep these in your pocket, in your purse. I also use this crystal in my crystal grids, right, for my Reiki clients. And I always use this when I have someone that's dealing with, trying to ease their anxiety, soothing their stress, just bring everything kind of back into a calm balance. It's also great, as I said before, to keep next to your journal or your computer while you're writing. Again, just keeping that creative energy flowing. And so others will, they'll get the intended message that you're writing about. You also want to keep one of these. This is such a nice little hack, but if you're ever in, an argument or a disagreement with either a loved one or somebody at work, a boss, a coworker, this is a great one to keep close because again, it just, keeps that energy calm and helps you to stay balanced so that you're able to communicate. So even if they're losing it, you're not. And that is going to be so helpful. If you're having family over, right? I think of Thanksgiving, but for any of these events, birthdays or anything you've got going on, or even friends where maybe there's been some difficult conversations lately, this is really good to keep in your dining room. And this just helps ensure a calm and enjoyable dinner conversation. You can also hold one just in your hands during meditation, because this can be amazing, again, for calming those emotions. And you can also connect with this crystal with an ASMR crystal Reiki session. It's free on my own YouTube channel, Crystal Reiki Healer, after the show, of course. And of course, I love to leave you with a wonderful affirmation to help you connect to your crystal's energy. And for blue lace agate, it is, I am calm and clear in my words, thoughts, and ability to voice my true heart's desires. And that wraps up our crystal segment of the week for blue lace agate. Thank you, ladies, so much for having me join you. I hope that this has brought some value to your show. Many blessings. Mwah.
Let me unmute you. Okay. So
Okay, I still will not get used to not being able to
talk to Athena.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
so used to her having her hair that
Yeah.
I'll miss her, but she knows.
Yeah, she's getting used to doing the videos because she's a mom. She's still got young
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
So she has to do all the driving and everything for all the kids.
She's got a lot of energy, man. She makes me feel lazy.
She does. Trust me. She's
younger than us,
so
so-
gosh darn busy. It's like,
Yeah.
But for anybody who wants to see her ASMR, I've put the link to her YouTube channel in the chat. So go check it out
Yeah.
after the show. Otherwise, she'll kick your butt.
That was really great, though, what she said about that blue crystal. I'd love to get one of those because it's just what I need right now. Yeah. Oh, you have one?
I have a bunch of crystals.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But jewelry, yeah, it's good. And for the throat chakras and
Mhm.
everything too, because I have a lot of problems with my throat. So I wear a lot of those things, especially when I'm doing the show. So that's
Sure.
why I picked this one.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I love
Okay,
Yeah.
so food in the book.
Let's get back to
Keep me on food. Food porn.
Okay. All right.
I
So
mean, you gonna go and you're gonna give it away the whole thing, or you gonna like give the
no,
whole?
it's not as there's no need for a spoiler alert. No
Okay.
need for a spoiler alert. So okay, I was writing the book at the library. I have to most times when I write, I have to go to the library, one of 3 local libraries that I like to go to because I have this mini Aussie Shepherd. She's at my feet now. Both of my dogs are.
They're beautiful dogs.
Yeah, but she is so hyper in the afternoon. I can't get anything done. She just wants me to take her for a walk and play with her all the time. So I go to the library for peace and quiet. Often I go up to this private study room, which is great. But anyways, there are a lot of homeless people at one of the libraries. And this homeless man who I'd been chatting with, he came up to me and asked me what I was writing about. And he was really excited. Oh, I'm really into the turn of the century in New York City and da da da. And he says, do you know what I happened to find the other week that might be interesting to you is I was rummaging through the garbage at the back of the library and they'd thrown out a bunch of books. And he said, I'll bring it to you tomorrow. But it was this cookbook published at the end of the 1800s, an original cookbook. Yeah. But the binding was kind of falling apart. And I forget what it was called, but it was written by the chef of the Astoria Waldorf Hotel.
Ooh,
But
nice.
I mean, it was a big, thick, like encyclopedic book of all of the recipes that they had back then for fine dining, or just like a lot of them would be like, you really need a stove to cook this. It's going to be hard to do it over the hearth kind of thing. Like it was just a different mindset back then. And, I looked it up on Amazon, in one that's in good condition goes for like $600, but this one's all, tattered, but I still used all the I used some of the recipes in The Ghost in Her, and then I'm going to use more for the next book too.
Awesome.
That is so
Awesome.
nice.
Yeah.
I loved that
Yeah.
part. I loved it.
Yeah. You know what the thing about this book though, when I looked it up, there's a warning on it that says, warning, like disclaimer, be careful about trying some of these recipes because they're not like FDA approved, obviously, right?
Oh yeah.
So like the things they would eat back then, super weird, like pigeons, pigeon stew or whatever.
Yeah.
And, it would be so easy with some of these recipes to get food poisoning.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you gotta, it's a miracle that the human race is still here. I'm telling
I know.
Oh no, just
I
remember
know.
we've grown up with
Yeah.
chicken, pork thing, but I mean they used to eat that back in the day, so why not? I'm sure everything was cooked properly so that you don't catch food poisoning. But I mean,
Well, they didn't have
Yeah.
the refrigerators or the freezers,
Yeah.
and the things
exactly.
like
Right.
that to keep the food. So by the
Right.
time you got fish or any kind of beef or meat or whatever,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or preservatives.
Yeah.
They didn't have the
no
preservatives to keep
preservatives,
it.
no
Yeah.
nothing. So
Yeah.
you get tartar.
Yeah.
No,
You know
sorry.
what I mean?
Mm-mm.
But
But I am
a lot of
struck with
people
when
did have
when
those
you look
problems.
at
Hi, Roger.
movies. Oh,
I'm
I can't
my
see
phone.
anybody coming on. When you look at real movies from that time period, films, they were so thin for the most part. They were very much thinner than we are now because food was scarce, and I try to get that across in the book is that a lot of the book, Maggie is hungry.
Yeah.
And that would be realistic for a poor young woman in the Bowery.
Yeah.
Not only did she not have the money to buy the food, but it was hard to find food that you could afford and keep for more than a day.
Yeah. It was heartbreaking too, and watch her struggle to get $3 for her rent.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, the struggle is still real today. People are struggling to get their rent,
Yeah.
and everything else because people are struggling to pay their electric bills nowadays.
Yeah.
'Cause they're like,
Yeah.
through the roof.
That's another thing I did in the book. I went to the Tenement Museum in New York City. It's like a neighborhood full of all the old brick tenements, where I envisioned, the book taking place. And they've done these tenements have remained untouched for over 100 years.
Yeah.
So they have the old
brownstones.
peeling wallpaper and all that stuff. But the reality is back then, the tenements like that the very poor like Maggie lived in would have been wooden, and those are all gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it. You're talking about Battery Park and
Yeah.
and all the things that are there now, and I envision it as it is now, but I try to think of it.
That's why I love history. I love it. That's why I love to go to New York City and go to anything that's historical. I like to think about all the generations and lives that have come and gone and walked the same streets.
Yeah, I would love to go walk through Manhattan with you. Just
Yeah.
to say some stories about some things that have happened, but I'd love to pick your brain.
Yeah.
What is going on in there as you're walking down that street?
Yeah.
Go walk by Broadway or go walk by the Tower or whatever.
Right.
And it's just
when I went to Blackwell's Island, Roosevelt Island now, it was really fascinating to stand at the shoreline where there was a little tiny strip of a beach, nothing you could even put a chair on, but the waters of the East River are very, the currents are very strong. I write about that in the book.
yes.
And the waves are coming up on the shore. But I just wonder, what would it have been like at that time to look out across as a person in a madhouse, to look across the river and see Manhattan.
Yeah.
Manhattan's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's like a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
That would be very strange.
Yep. Yeah. Like, even Alcatraz, it's like you can't get out of Alcatraz because of the currents,
Right.
So they say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the same thing, and they're women and they're like, malnourished,
Yeah.
weak
Yeah.
women.
Yeah. Well, and back then you know, again, life was just so hard. And I was reading, I had them, the local library, send to the New York City Library a request for the old vintage records from Refuge, which was the juvenile prison back then on Blackwell's Island. And I was reading all of these, like the equivalent of a social worker today, their handwritten records saying, I visited this home and this little boy is, you know, a troublemaker or whatever. But a lot of times I saw mention of different women, mothers who had lost their minds, or they were alcoholics, or they were morphine addicts, and they were living in poverty in the Bowery, and life was just so hard back then. You know, losing babies in childbirth, you know, getting sick all the time. You know, it was just a hard life, and sometimes they just literally went insane because of it.
But also, you know, you got to think of, have you ever had really bad PMS? I mean, when you lose it, okay. And so they would like lock women up for this, you know. I mean,
Well, heck, I'm in menopause right now, so you're preaching
Okay.
to the converted. No,
Yeah.
and I try to talk about that in the book, that, you know, back then, basically, if you were not a woman of means, meaning not just financial means, but if you didn't have the family name or some kind of protection, a husband, a father, you were really vulnerable to being shipped off, especially if you were the black sheep of the family.
oh God, yeah.
You know,
By the way,
and the evil siblings wanted to cut you out of the will so they could get a bigger piece of pie. Ship her off to the lunatic asylum. Or men, you know, who were having affairs, and they were upstanding men. Back then, divorce was so frowned upon. They ship her off to the insane asylum so the mistress can come live there instead. Or but you make a good point about the female anatomy is a big part of the diagnoses of mental illness back then. The hysteria was all related to having a hysterical womb.
all those types of things, you know, postpartum depression and whatever. You know, there's so many things. Hormones just run amok in a woman's system. It can change them night and day, complete 180 of a person. You know?
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, it has struck me a long time ago, so it sent you right into menopause. But
you know, I saw on the news last night, they were saying that this woman was being interviewed about the effect that menopause has on the economy, because they did these studies that for like 10 years of a woman's life, because evidently black women go through menopause for longer time periods statistically. Like, you know, Caucasians might be for 6 years, they could be for 10 years. So you look at that decade of menopause, how it affects your work capacity, absenteeism, doctor's appointments, headaches, all that kind of thing. And it actually has a direct impact on the economy.
That's that's so true. That's so true. Scott's bringing up a point here too about another insanity due to lead pipes. Lead pipes, mercury poisoning, all kinds of things that people were, you know, playing with, and you know, like how many we were kids putting mercury in our hands, you know, before you realize how bad it was.
Yeah.
You know, all these things can definitely
also syphilis, gonorrhea.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have penicillin back then, so they'd literally go insane with the gonorrhea.
Yes. I mean, it's just, that's what I'm saying. It's a miracle that the human race is still here.
I know.
It really truly is, you know. So
and when you think about past lives, you think, oi, if I had past lives over the, you know, centuries, chances are I suffered a hell of a lot. Because you know, it's hard now, but it was harder then.
Especially for a woman, because even if a woman had means and her husband or her father or whatever died, a woman couldn't inherit the money.
Right. And while she was alive, she was a possession. You know, she couldn't go to law school, she couldn't go to med school, she couldn't get a career. She was a kept object. And it was like being in a gilded cage, you know. And we're so fascinated by the life of the rich during the Gilded Age, the Rockefellers and Carnegies and all that. But, no matter how wealthy these women were, I wouldn't trade my life for their life in it, ever.
No, no.
Just the
You ever go
clothing,
to a
the
mansion
clothing.
in Newport?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
It's like I look at some of those pictures and I just think, and you're going in those bedrooms and whatever, and you think how hot it could have been in there. Okay,
Yeah.
all those clothes that you got to wear, all buttoned up and 900 layers and everything. How miserable you got to be to walk 5 miles through your mansion to get to where the food is.
I know.
I'd be a sweat pile by the time I got there.
I know. I know. I often think that when you see, especially even the men having to wear their heavy wool suits in the middle of summer, it was crazy. The corsets women had to wear back then, the fishbone corsets, they would break their ribs. They could cause deformity of the internal organs. They even had accounts of women who died from their girdles, from their corsets, because they were tight-laced.
Wow.
Tied too tightly.
Roger is a psychic and a psychic medium, and he's saying that there is a homeless lady with a stocking hat and gloves that the fingers are exposed, and that's with you right now as a guest in spirit.
Stocking hat and gloves, and the fingers are exposed.
So
a homeless lady.
Yeah, a stocking hat. So
wow, I'll have to give that thought. Stocking. Yeah. I will have to give that some thought.
You said there were a lot of homeless people by the library, so
yeah, I actually, I practiced law. I practiced law for 20 years, and I'd say at least half of my clients were homeless. So I have a real affinity for homeless people. I found my homeless clients were often my most grateful and respectful clients.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that must have been tough to leave a career of 20 years, and then you just was it just something that was nagging at you for a long time, and or did you just decide, I just want to be happy and do it?
It just, I mean, when I was in the practice of law, most of it was very service oriented, and I loved it so much. I really did. And I built a very prosperous law practice. I think what it came to was I just had it in my head that when I leave, I want to leave at the top of my game. Because, and I was, when I left, I was like 53, and I had gone past what I expected to achieve. And it was very tiring. I was tired of working, 6-7 day weeks. I was burnt out because, we had kids young. I had my son when I was 24, my daughter when I was 26. And so I went to law school when they were in elementary school, and my husband traveled all the time, and I went to law school full time. So it was very, very stressful. And then starting a law practice from scratch and doing that for 20 years while raising my kids, who, by the way, were not easy to raise. They're in their 30s now, but my daughter's almost 30. But I felt it was time to take care of myself because it was such a high stress career. As much as I loved it, it was stressful. Deadlines, go all the time.
Yeah.
And the thing is, each person wants you to be there for them 20, give them answers like, I want it now,
Yeah.
And,
yes.
And I know
yes.
I'm in that spot right now when I have to deal with my lawyers. I understand that she's got a ton of other clients, but I'm like, it's been 4 years. Can we get this shit over and done with? Yeah. But I also, the half of my brain kind of goes, you know what? I'm okay. I'm not, I will learn to get with it.
I literally had clients die on me who were waiting for their Social Security disability hearing. And, the process is, bureaucratic and unnecessarily complicated, and people have to basically lose all their money and before a judge grants them disability. I mean, sometimes they get lucky and they get it on the first application. So you become disabled, you apply, a few months later you get
I can't do the work that I did, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
well, I get disability. And I'm like, I'm afraid to do stuff like that, but I heard all these things like, you're going to get denied. You're going to get a lawyer. You're going to do this. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
so it's another money thing. It's like, well,
And yeah,
and
and people, because you're not allowed to work while you're filing for disability, very, very minimal amount. I don't know what the amount is now, but it used to be like you can't make more than like $800 a month or something part-time. And even then it could hurt your case because it shows you can do something. But yeah, I just, it was hard to sometimes have judges feel what I felt were the wrong decisions. And, I had one client commit suicide after we lost his case. He had a lengthy prison history, history with drugs, whatnot. So those clients, unfortunately, for a lot of judges, they don't look well on those clients, and they don't get the money. And as this man said, I can't live in my friend's garage through one more Connecticut winter. Because so it's sad. Yeah, it took a toll on me. It took a toll on me.
Yeah, I want to read this from Scott here too. It's kind of a different subject, but to us in the UK, it seems like you Yanks are trying to stop women back in the years, right? And so many women agree. What's that about?
Oh.
The abortion thing and everything else. We're trying to stop women from going forward. It's true.
It's so true. It makes me so upset to see happening. And when you think about it, the women in America didn't even get the right to vote until like 1920.
26.
So 26. So that's like less than 100 years that we've even been able to vote, and we don't realize just how far we've come. And I do believe that there is this patriarchy in America, and unfortunately, there are women who participate in it, women who support it and promote that agenda against their own self-interests.
Right?
Right?
I never in a million years, I'm sorry. It's not gonna happen. Mama, we're strong, independent women with our own brain. All right.
Well, but I get it, because I did it at one stage in my life too.
Follow the man, or like, hey, I'll back Bob 100% if he's right and doing the right thing. Yes. If he's doing the wrong thing, I'm sorry. Why don't you have my back? Because it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's why. And I won't do it with a good conscience. And I won't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like honest to a fault.
That's why I married my husband. The main thing was that he respected women so much, and he respected me. And that's why he has a very successful career in the corporate world, where he works with women every day, all day long, very smart, top of their game women. And I don't know. I just, when I see men who aren't like that, I don't understand it.
Because they're intimidated.
Yeah.
I guess so. It's a sign of insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it also depends on their own mother.
Any strong woman, any strong woman, go way back in history. You know what I mean? It is stomped it really fast. Right before the asylums all went up, it was the witch trials.
Right.
The same thing. It's just like you get rid of them quicker because you can hang them or burn them or drown them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Crush them with stones. I mean,
right.
And it's all hysteria.
The witches were often, like I wrote about in the book, because Maggie comes from a line of witches and seers. Well, they're seers.
Right there.
They're psychics, they're seers.
Yeah.
But they are mislabeled as witches. And often these are the women who are outspoken and independent, like often financially independent. But they're scapegoated, and they're seen as a threat if they get too powerful.
Yeah. We're talking about a really cool book, The Ghost and Her Taryn. You'd love this. It's a really cool story. I'll tell you all about it later.
Yeah, but don't let her tell you everything, because she gets going and just like, be like, shut up, I'll read the book. Leave me alone. Go away.
Yeah. I know. I get some reviews like that on Goodreads where I'm like, oh, damn, they just told the whole story.
Yeah, I won't do that on a review, but
Although I want to know, I appreciate every Goodreads review. I do.
It's amazing. And she also wrote, so that's a fiction book, obviously, but these are nonfiction. That's won awards, press awards, and Escape from, and I said it wrong. So how you say it?
Escape from Mary Upel. Mary Upel. Yeah.
Okay, because I said Maripol.
No, don't apologize for that, because a lot of Americans pronounce it differently. Like I listen to different newscasts, and sometimes they pronounce it differently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The way they butcher some names.
Yes.
But you do realize that you've given me now a shopping list. I have to go shopping and buy.
Oh, right. I hope you like it.
And then his garden. That's her on the cover of his garden. That's not you on the cover of the other one, though.
I still think it is. Okay. I still
on the cover of the other one. Thank you, but that's a 32-year-old woman. That's the Ukrainian woman that we sponsored to come to America, that the book is about, who escaped Mariupol. That's her beautiful Siberian Husky dog with her. And she was with her through the entire ordeal. So we just went to I can't wait to read it. We went to a local, in our part of Connecticut, we have a lot of big, old, beautiful factories that have been refurbished into art studios and restaurants and things like that, yoga studios. And so we went behind one of those factories near the river, and we wanted a kind of industrial Ukrainian look to it, feel to it. So that's where we took that. Yeah, my husband took that picture.
Nice.
But Connecticut, though, I have to say, Connecticut. It's like, from living here in Pennsylvania, when all that construction was going on in Connecticut, it would be like take forever to get through Connecticut. You get fly.
I've only been here for 10 years.
New Jersey,
so
and then you get
I
to
don't know.
And it's like, ugh. But now that all the construction's done, you can actually fly through Connecticut now, which is good. But
when did the construction end?
3 years ago. About 3 years ago. Yeah, they were widening the roads and everything, making it like a 5-lane highway, but they would funnel you down to 1 lane until it actually, which caused backups for ever, like 3 hours. Wow. That you would be on this stretch of road. It would suck.
Yeah.
Nadine from Malibu. The book sounds amazing, ladies. This is what happens. Every time I watch a show, I have to buy books the guests wrote. LOL.
Yes.
We have amazing guests, I have to admit.
Amazing. I read it in a day, Nadine. I could not. It's 107 pages, and then you get a little preview of a snippet of a thing too to read at the end. But I couldn't stop reading it. I just couldn't stop. I read it all.
That's amazing.
I had to. I just had to. I had to know what's going on. I couldn't put it down. I was figuring, usually when a book is 300 pages plus, I'll take it and I'll cut it in half, wherever the chapter would end, and say, like, I'm going to read to here, and then I'll take it from there the next day. No.
You didn't.
I took the phone off the hook.
Wow.
I was like, no.
I'm trying to think of the last time I did that with a book. Gone Girl. I remember being like that with Gone Girl. The Help. I was like that with The Help. And The Road. Boy, that post-apocalyptic one. Yeah.
I did not read that one. Who's the author?
Cormac McCarthy, is it? It was made into a movie, The Road, about, there's a nuclear annihilation in a global freezing due to nuclear fallout, and it's creepy. It's creepy. It involves it's one of these books. It affected me so deeply that it actually made me depressed, like slip into a depression for a few days after I read it. That's how deeply it affected me. Yeah, it was because it was a story that was pretty much without hope, because that would be the reality of nuclear winter, right?
Yeah.
So at the end, and they did it more so in the movie, they tried to kind of do a little bit more of a Hollywood twist to make it a little more hopeful. Yeah. the book itself
reality one. No.
was hopeless because the situation would be hopeless.
Wow. So that girl in Ukraine, were they like petrified? Was that kind of looming over them at all times about nuclear threats?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to get up and put my dog. I'm going to open this door because she's getting kind of frisky and weird on me. Like, yeah. So here we go. Let's see.
Mom.
Yeah, I know. I know. I think we've almost exhausted her capacity. But what was your question?
The woman from Ukraine.
Nuclear. Yeah.
Nuclear.
Well, you know, before the war began, these were constant threats of Russia invading. You know, because they had already taken over the Crimean Peninsula in 2014-15, and they had already surrounded all of Ukraine. So they were constantly under that, you know, fear that Russia might invade. In terms of nuclear, no, I mean, I don't think they would ever have thought that Russia would have nuked them unless it were a situation like now. Like now. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
maybe
I think Russia was thinking that they were just going to pummel them and be done with it, you know, like the shock and awe.
Yeah.
You know, oh, yeah, it's going to be over in no time.
Right. And I think Putin was shocked. But I think some of that, I'm just going to try to move this upstairs to my kitchen so that my dog might leave me alone. But I think some of that was because of NATO. I think that Vladimir Putin underestimated NATO because, you know, I know Trump wanted us to get out of NATO. And even now, you know, there are some Americans questioning the war, even some Americans taking the side of Russia. So, I mean, this is a very serious issue, but I forget where we were going with that. I've traveled all the way upstairs.
We were talking about nuclear.
Oh yeah. So she traveled through Russian occupied territory, and she was in Zaporizhia, where that's the largest nuclear power plant, comprising 6 nuclear power stations. It's the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. So, you know, they were even then giving iodide pills out to their local residents. And, you know, very early in the war, part of that plant caught fire, and they were really worried about a meltdown. I don't know if you remember that. Since then, it's always been such a big concern that we could have a Chernobyl on steroids with just one missile hit, you know, because once it goes off the grid and goes onto a generator, it's my understanding that it can only last, you know, days before the threat of a meltdown.
Right.
And that would affect all of Europe. So, I mean, we talk a lot about, will Russia, you know, nuke a country? Would it nuke Ukraine? Would it do strategic? Would it do bio? But I think that Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is probably the greatest threat, you know.
Yeah. Bio and nukes, those are the two top, oh my God, things, you know. We got to live on this planet, you know. It's just not gonna recover from a lot of the stuff being tested.
Right, and I try to talk about that a lot in the book too. Is the effect this war has had
helping mankind as opposed to killing it off.
Yeah.
Right, and and the environmental effect of this war, you know, to the land of Ukraine. When you look at the drone footage, you know, the destruction of the wheat, and it's the breadbasket of Europe, you know, and they're, you know, the poisons of the toxic fumes and gases, and you know, it's what are we doing to our world? You know, what are we doing? It's madness. War is madness.
And I think one of the things that I have an issue with, most of y'all know I'm from Canada, and I get to watch what goes on. My husband's an American, and he watches all American news, and I don't watch TV. But what irks me is all these people, these rich bajillionaires who are going into space. We need to
Mm,
find a new planet.
yeah.
The money that you're putting into going into space, building the rockets, yada, yada, put it into here. Put it
Yeah.
into repairing the damage that we have done to this earth. I mean,
Right.
eventually we'll get up there. Eventually, never mind get up, us getting up
Well,
there. Eventually
yeah.
they'll come down and see us and go, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think so. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the job of NASA. We need our scientists. We need our
No,
space
yeah, the
explorers.
scientists, I get it, but
But
it's
yeah,
like,
in terms
the
of
millionaires, who are doing it, who built rockets and go up into
Well,
space.
yeah,
it's
I
a
I
mean,
think,
Disney
we need
World,
to
like
have
a
an
day.
option.
Yeah.
yeah,
We need to have an
Yeah.
option because we are killing this planet, and it's going to happen
Yeah.
one of these days. And
Yeah.
Nostradamus predicted it too. That we're gonna
Yeah.
be living amongst the stars because basically
yep,
because we're killing our planet. So
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
even though you don't take heed, people should, like people are, some people are doing, their parts and they have, Priuses and electric cars and recycle all the time and all that kind of
mhm,
stuff. Whatever little bit you do helps,
yeah.
but
But
it's,
I'm just terrified by climate change. Like I really wonder. It just seems like the last few years, this has just escalated at such a rapid rate, and
hmm
it's really scary to. We just went down to Fort Myers for a visit, and we went to Sanibel Island,
ugh,
and I couldn't believe it. It looked like a war zone. I mean, it really did. And you're driving on the road, and the beach water goes right up to the road, so it's right at sea level. And you think, it just, with every hurricane that comes, it's just going to swallow up that
yeah,
island.
yeah,
At night, we could hardly even find a place to eat at night because the businesses have all closed down. The trailer parks are just devastated.
wow,
It's rough.
yeah,
So
yeah.
our coastlines are really vulnerable,
So
especially
yeah,
right now.
Nauset Beach. This is where I went.
Mhm.
We bought a camper that was like $90,000. We put into this camper to drive on a beach, right? But it was Nauset Beach. You could drive out 9 miles to the end. You
Mhm.
can fish the shore, you can fish the bay, you can dig clams and quahogs and mussels and lobster. We would
Mhm.
eat like kings and queens out there. And it
Mhm.
was a
Mhm.
beautiful beach. And one
Mhm.
storm in the
Yeah.
freezing waters
Yeah.
split it. At the time, there was a dredge in the bay too, because they were keeping it out for the dock to come into the fish pier. So there was a dredge there. It would have cost $5,000,
Mhm.
okay, to take the dredge and fill that gap. But
Mhm.
the people, the powers that be on the committee said, "Oh no, we got to let Mother Nature do what it's gonna do,"
Mhm.
and they did, and then they lost
Wow.
about 7 miles of the beach and all of the
Yeah.
houses that were on there that you couldn't sell because they were like deeded in the
Yeah.
families and
Yeah.
everything. Beautiful cottages, people's livelihoods, everything else all
Mhm.
gone, you know,
Right.
and that's all due to climate change and everything
Yeah.
too, and
Yeah.
people messing with the systems.
Right.
It's one little thing can set up an ecosystem so bad,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
I get people love animals and they love this and
Mhm.
they love seeing the seals and everything else, but back in the day, you used to get $1 a nose if you killed a seal,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But they would be just like hunters with the deer. Everything was regulated. But if you don't regulate the seal population, so now you've got
Mhm.
seals all over the place. What happens with all the seals? Sharks come in. So now they have a
Yeah.
shark problem down the Cape, where they never
Wow.
had a shark problem because you just up their food supply. Of course they're coming in, and then how is
Yeah.
it tell the difference between, a seal and a kid swimming in
Yeah.
the water, you know,
Right.
and that's man
Yeah.
that's man messing with,
Right. Right. So much of climate change is a result of man messing with nature and not being
not understanding.
respectful of it. But yeah, here in Connecticut, they literally drop off and tag the bears and drop them off in our region of Connecticut. So
Mm,
I kid you not, in the summer, these bears are just walking down the road, like, you
wow.
know, yeah, crossing the road with all their cubs. And one spring, opened the garage door, there were 3 bears in my garage. There was a mama bear, and no, there were 4 bears, a mama bear and her 3 cubs. But there are a ton of bear in this area, and also deer as well. Yeah.
I sit here. If I look out my window here, so my backyard goes downhill, and there's like a stream down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just see down that hill. I have one little opening here, otherwise it's all full of stuff, books and everything over here too. And I looked down and I saw a fox run by, but the other day I saw a whole bunch of deer running up. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
A bunch of deer, during the day. I'm like, hey, nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Beautiful.
I love having
Beautiful.
that. I don't like the woodchucks so much, but I like the deer.
Yeah.
There was something on here that I wanted to put up here. What was it? Oh,
Did we have anybody chiming in? Any questions? I don't have my glasses on, so I haven't been reading.
Oh, it's okay. We always read them up.
What would men do if we sacrificed a gonad for each child? Think about the results. We might stop the immoral sacrifices. But
This is really sci-fi stuff. This reminds me, I've watched General Hospital for 45 years.
I still
45 years. Do you watch General Hospital?
Yeah.
I've watched it before Luke raped Laura. Before that.
Yeah.
And when Laura was a teenager, that's when I started watching it. And
did you watch Dark Shadows?
Yes, I love Dark Shadows. Of course. Yes. Yeah.
I just rewatched Dark Shadows.
That was really ahead of its time when you think about it. A soap opera based on vampires. That was ahead of its time.
It was vampires. It was werewolves. It was witches. It was, you name whatever it is, the I Ching, going back, time travel.
Yeah.
It was every single supernatural thing you can possibly think of. Was in Dark Shadows.
That guy's gonad thing for sacrificing for a child reminds me of a storyline in General Hospital right now. You know how Victor wants to annihilate billions of people on Earth.
Reset everything, going way back to when it happened before.
Yeah. He's kind of like the Antichrist. That would make him the Antichrist.
Yes.
If he wanted to obliterate almost the entire world. Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
except for
his family.
Yeah. Right.
Selfish SOB.
Yes. I know. Yeah. But I love the original characters when they did that. That was awesome.
Yeah. General Hospital is so bad it's good. I mean, I watch it. It is. It's just.
I watched General Hospital. One Life to Live.
All My Children.
All My Children.
Those are the ABC ones.
Yeah, when they took those off, I was devastated. And then then my niece made me start watching Days of Our Lives, which now it left the airwaves too, but it's on Peacock. So now
really,
so I watch it over there.
Yeah,
and that's
because I know One Life to Live. No, it was All My Children. I think that when it got cut, they did it like on this internet channel, like because it was back in the day. They did it like the equivalent of like a YouTube version of it, but it was so low budget. You don't realize how much money goes into these shows to make them look good, to the writing, the set design. I went to Burbank, California, to a huge General Hospital conference and toured the General Hospital set. That was fascinating. Yeah, it was so. I have tons of great pictures, but. We went like we were the first bus
with me.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Yeah. Yeah. I've got my picture with all the General Hospital stars because there was for a few years there. I just went to all of those little group conventions, just small things that would come to our, to Hartford or to Boston. And they, be at the.
You got to say it the right way. It's Hartford.
Yeah. See, the thing is, so then after we left Montreal, we went to Vancouver for 2 years. So by then I genuinely did have a Canadian accent. And then we moved to Southwestern Ohio for 20 years. And we're right above Kentucky. And when I came here, everyone teased me about my Southern twang. And I had a Southern twang from 20 years in Ohio. So your accent changes throughout your life.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Pennsylvania is taking a little change on me, but not much. Not much.
Yeah.
Everyone makes fun of me here, and it's okay.
The mass hole is set in stone.
It is. It is. And you know what's funny? My kids don't even have the accent that I do, you know?
Yeah.
But their father, my husband at the time, he doesn't have that accent either. And he was from Leominster.
No way. Leominster is the town right next to where I grew up, Lunenburg.
Right. Yeah.
And my father's dental practice was in Leominster. I was born at Leominster Hospital.
Get out. I was a pool shack in Leominster for a million years. I worked. That was my job. That's how I made money, playing pool.
Where?
At the Elbow and the 40s and the round bar behind. Remember Sambo's?
Wow. I do. Yeah.
The bar behind there.
There are not a lot of restaurants there. I remember like Dan Chan's was in Fitchburg. Yeah. And the Old Mill.
French.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some good Italian restaurants.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like in Connecticut.
We're out that way, So
yeah, that was one of the best parts about moving back to New England. Here in Connecticut, in the community we're in, we have so many Italians that there are so many little quaint Italian family-run restaurants with the best food, the best pizza. Yeah, because Ohio doesn't know nothing about pizza. I'll tell you. I don't know what they call that dough covered in cheese, but it's not pizza.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yep. I do. It's different. It's definitely different here in Pennsylvania than up there. Oh, and you know what they do here? They really gets me. We're back on food, Mama. Seafood.
I'm gaining weight as we speak.
And steamers, right? So if you want to get a lobster here, it's a rock lobster. It's not a regular lobster. It's not a good lobster. It's not claws. It's the tail, and it's the rock lobster. So it's really hard to get out of the shell and everything. It's not as tasty as our lobsters up there, Maine lobster. You got to get a good Maine lobster, and you need the clams from the Cape. You know what I mean? I don't like the Maine clams because they're mucky, but the clams from the Cape, they're nice and clean. They're not, you could get a little sand in there, but they're good, and they're real clams. I mean, now down here, they think a quahog is a clam, and they sell it that way, marked as clams. I'm like, those are quahogs. Those are not clams, and like, oh my God.
This is a first world problem, Gina.
It is. We should write a book.
I'm sorry for your suffering. This sounds like a very serious problem.
It is a big problem.
I know.
We are having the funniest conversation here. I'm so sorry we're so sidetracked. I don't know.
But I love doing that. I've been so happy in Connecticut. I didn't realize just how much I missed New England and how much a part of me it was until we were living in Ohio. I never felt comfortable like I fit in with Ohio. It was just a very different mindset in Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, the community we lived in, strongly Republican. Like they would make fun of me for being Democrat kind of thing. Yeah. And a lot of very strong Christianity, but very few synagogues. It's just much more Midwest, and country music, Fox News when you go into a bar. And then when we came here, I was like, oh, thank God I'm home. Thank God I'm home. But one of my favorite
from West Virginia back up to Connecticut, and the rest of my family, they're all still in Mass. So I'm the only
thing about West Virginia is so totally beautiful though, like the mountains. I used to take court cases in West Virginia sometimes, and
our house was beautiful down there. But it's just she's my grandson too, so it was really far. That's another reason why I moved here, besides Bob. But it was the middle of my one daughter in Mass, and and going to West Virginia to see her, so it'd be easier to travel. Now I'm here, and they're all up there again. But she's in Taunton now, Connecticut. So she's only, and my daughter's in Leicester. So it's not. They're like 45 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
What I love so much about Connecticut that I'd forgotten from my youth is I just love the forests and the rivers. I like that the ocean is less than an hour drive, the coast,
Right.
Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
But every day,
Mystic. Love
oh,
Mystic.
Mystic, yeah. And we just went to Old Saybrook for a weekend to the resort and spa.
Yeah.
But I just love not only the history, but just there's something about walking every day, hiking. I hike every day. I either go to the river or the lake with my dogs. Both are like a mile away. And I don't know, I've been communing with nature for the last 10 years in a way that I just missed out on. And I think part of that too was that I was always so busy working in Ohio.
Well,
But
yeah.
I just feel more
You were never really
spiritually in
comfortable there
tune.
because you are, like you said, you're home now.
That's what
So
it feels like.
you can connect much easier.
Yeah.
Maybe you could write a book on the. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of haunted places for real.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I think it's already been done. There's like a Haunted Connecticut series and all that stuff,
yeah,
You know how I feel about stories? A story has to really come to me, and I have to say, I love that. I really, so like, there's so many, oh, that'll be an interesting book. That'll be an interesting book. Maybe I'll do this or that. But you have to really, really say, okay, I want to dedicate a full year to this project. Is it really that important? So when you say, like, do history of Connecticut, like, ghosts of Connecticut, yeah, it's a nice idea, but I don't want to spend a year doing it.
Okay, well, you actually have a plate full anyway, though, because if you're going to be taking a screenwriting course and then writing, you've got 2 books really, because Ghost and Her and The Escape. Okay, to write 2 screenplays for.
Yeah.
And you can do that while you're taking your course.
I know I've got a lot of work to do, but the best part of not having to be on that rat, just what's it called? The rat race. Not being in the rat race is I can do it when I want to do it. When I was practicing law, it was just like I had to do a lot of things when I didn't want to do it. But now, whoops, dogs are getting in a little fight. I think
your dogs are your dogs.
Yeah, I think honestly I'm going to have to wind it down soon because they're getting like
we only have 10 minutes. 10 minutes left. That's all we had. So that's absolutely fine.
They're getting anxious here. I'll show you.
Look at the babies.
Puppies.
Puppies. Nice.
They need to go outside, and I'm usually in bed by now. But they've been good though, haven't they?
Yes, they have. And we're a pet friendly show, so it's not
mine's dead asleep over here. But all right. So I will. I'll let you go take care of the doggies. People, you got to get this book. It is amazing. All right. Let me put up her info real quick here. Okay. So you can go to Anika Savoy .com. You can see a lot more about Annika. You can tell we had a great conversation with her.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. All right. So there's her book. Okay. And her other books, Escape from, I'm going to say it the way I say it, Maripol.
Good. That's fine.
Maripol.
And His Garden. You can check out those books as well. Her style of writing, everything about her is amazing. I feel like I've known her forever. I'm going to be bothering you, and I want to see those pictures.
That's great. And it's always a pleasure to speak to a fellow masshole.
Absolutely, 100%. I bring out the accent when I have a masshole on.
Yeah, right.
But I do appreciate and putting up with me too. I've had a frustrating week and all the stuff.
All my best to your dad. I'll keep him in my prayers. I see your Facebook posts and I give you lots of comfort right now.
Thank you very much. I really need that. So I think that's why I was really kind of all over the place tonight.
Absolutely. Why not?
Stressful,
Why not?
It was a great conversation.
It was. I enjoyed meeting both of you and the quiet little lady, Mama D. I really like you
because
too.
You guys are talking food, and I'm like, okay, I'm just getting full right now. It's like,
go have a snack.
He's always doing all the stuff on the side.
Plus, I do a lot of stuff on the side. I'm tech support.
Oh,
The
yeah.
second
Yeah.
installment
Right.
of Ghost in Her. When do you think that
Oh,
might be?
the second
related?
installment, tentatively with the publisher, she wants it. I wanted it to come out for Christmas, and she said we already have a full schedule for Christmas. And I said, "Damn, I wanted to do a holiday Christmas scene." She said, "Why don't you do a Valentine's Day
Yeah.
theme?" I said, "Yes, since the book's about an energy vampire." It's about an energy
There we go.
vampire, so Valentine's Day. And so I will hopefully have it finished by Christmas, and it will be out by February 1st.
I need it.
There we go.
Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Fantastic.
And I have a feeling I'm going to write it like wicked fast, because it's like I can hardly wait to get to it. Yeah. I've
And
got
when
it
you
all in
do
my
have
head.
it,
It's
and
in
when
my
you
head.
do have it out, let us know, and we will help with the
Okay.
advertisement as much as we can. And
Thank you
probably
so
have you
much.
back on. It's our
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Darlene.
Welcome.
Thank you for being with us. And next
Yeah.
week we might be taking the week off. I'm not so sure yet. I will let you know.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
let you
Take it easy.
All right.
Prayers your way.
Night,
Hold
everyone.
on
Namaste.
1 minute, Annika. All right, we're going to say good night to all of you. Buonanotte. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. We are here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests. We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, as well as all our Anchor FM venues. We hope you enjoyed our show, our guest, and our featured Crystal of the Week segment with Athena Bari, and we would also appreciate it and love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe, like, and definitely hit that notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.